Today, Green Warrior, do you or someone you know have osteoporosis? Have you ever wondered how to keep your bones strong and healthy as you age? Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of osteoporosis prevention and treatment. So please join us because we're going to explore practical tips and expert insights to empower you on your journey to optimal bone health.
And then after the slideshow, we're going to make Mexican chocolate pudding. So stick around for that too.
Stick around for that. That's right.
So, well, should I dive right in then, Amy? Are
I
we ready
think,
to?
yeah, I think so.
Okay, I'll get right into it then. This is a course called Age Well with Strong Bones. I'm going to share a little bit with you about that course today. And bone health is on the minds of many people these days, especially women who are concerned that they might suffer a fracture at some point, and rightfully so, right? So, before we dive in, though, I just want to give a quick reminder that the information I'm presenting is for general dietary purposes only and should not ever be construed as personal medical advice to you, right? This is for general information only today. So let's get started. So I'm going to share today with you a portion of a course that was developed by Eileen Kupsaftis and me. And some of you might know Eileen. She's a regular guest on Chef AJ, and she's a popular physical therapist.
And she's been on
And
Be Green with Amy Live many times.
oh, okay, cool. I
Love
didn't
we love
realize.
Eileen.
Yeah, she is top notch. And she has a lot of knowledge about bone health. And since we both had a class on bone health, we decided to combine them into this one course that I'm about to tell you about called Age Well with Strong Bones. So I'll be sharing tidbits of information with you from that course. And the course is over 3 hours long. So we're just going to share tidbits of it today. And then at the end, I'll tell you how you can have access to the entire course at a discounted price if you are interested in that. So, back to this. So, there are 5 educational lessons in the course, as well as bonus cooking demos from me and bonus exercise videos with Eileen. And I'll tell you a little bit about each lesson here as we go along. Lesson 1 is called Bone Design and Function. So, a normal body, an adult body, has around 206 bones. And even though our bones are really light, they are incredibly strong, and they're super important too because they play a role in everything from our posture to supporting our vital organs and how they work together with our muscles to contribute to all the motions that we perform every single day. Even our blood cells are formed in the marrow of our bones, those red blood cells which provide oxygen to our organs, and the white blood cells that help us fight off infection. Our bones also store and release minerals based on our body's needs, including calcium and phosphorus and vitamin D. And did you know that certain types of bones even store fat, which can be released as our body needs energy? And these are just a few of the important roles that our bones play. So, this would be a good time for a true false, Amy.
All right. Well, we are going to start off officially with our game.
It's time for True or False on Be Green with Amy Live. Answer true or false to Amy's questions in the comments below, and Amy will ask our guest for the expert answer.
Okay. Here's our question. True or false? In the United States, nearly 40% of the population over 50 years old have low bone density, and those numbers increase with age. What do you think, Green Warriors? And as they're typing that in, Cyd, tell us about it.
Yeah, the answer to that, Amy, is true. So, nearly 40% of people, and in fact, let me just read these statistics for you. When it comes to bone stats here, this is for the United States, 50% of all women over 50 years old will be diagnosed with low bone mass, and that risk increases with age. So low bone mass is, we're going to differentiate between that and osteoporosis. But for low bone mass, over 50% of all women over 50. And this is based on CDC reports, data from 2018, actually. So here we are 6 years later. The stats might be different by now. They say that 1 in 2 women and up to 1 in 4 men will actually break a bone due to osteoporosis. And more than 13 million women, or people rather, over 13 million people over 50 have been diagnosed with osteoporosis. That's about 11% of the population, mostly women, and over 47 million have um, over 50, people over 50 have low bone density. That's nearly 40% of the population, and again, mostly women. And the numbers increase with age, the percentages increase with age. And they also report that 85 to 90% of our adult bone mass is acquired in girls by the age of 18 and in boys by the age of 20, which is why building strong bones in childhood and adolescence is really important because that can help prevent osteoporosis in later life. So the good news is that amidst all these troubling statistics is that osteoporosis is indeed preventable, and as in most things, diet, exercise, and lifestyle are the key. So the class goes into depth about bone remodeling. In other words, how our bone cells continually break down and rebuild through this variety of complex signaling and control mechanisms. Bone is actually a living organism. It's not just a tube, it's not just a stagnant tube. Bones are constantly changing in their shape and their composition to meet our body's needs. And there are two important bone cells to keep in mind. The two cells are osteoblasts and osteoclasts. So the osteoblasts are the cells that operate in groups to form bone. So they do so by producing this matrix that then becomes mineralized. So think of that like a matrix that's going to become mineralized by the minerals in our body. The osteoclasts are the cells that break down the old bone tissue. And when that happens, it allows the osteoblast to come on in and replace it with new material, right? That's a whole process that's known as resorption. So the osteoclasts break down the old bone, paving the way for the osteoblasts to come in and form new bone. And I love this statistic I learned last year at the NHA conference from Dr. Stephen Esser. He said that every second, 4 million cells turn over in our body. Some die while others move to the front. So that's what's happening in our bones. Cells are dying and the new ones are being formed all the time. And he even said that 1% of our body regenerates every single day. But think of that, 4 million cells a second. That's a lot of cells. So we have trillions, but that is a lot. So this process is a delicate business because that removal of bone mineral must be balanced by an equal deposit of new mineral. That makes sense, right? But when the balance tips, then our bones can become weak and we're diagnosed with osteopenia. And over time, the bones can become prone to fracture. That's osteoporosis. So that's all in lesson 1. Then in lesson 2, we talk about calcium and minerals because when it comes to our bones, we tend to focus a lot on calcium, but there are like many other minerals too. All play a very important role in our good bone health. Boron, for example, acts as an anti-inflammatory property that can reduce osteoarthritis symptoms, and it helps preserve our stores of calcium and magnesium. And then we have magnesium and copper, potassium, phosphorus, iron, zinc, and silica. All of these are needed for good bone health, not just calcium. And in the course, we point out which foods are great sources of each one of these minerals. But keep in mind that when it comes to these minerals, as with many things that we tend to do, more is not always better because we only need these minerals in trace amounts. And again, these minerals are easily available by eating a wide variety of plant foods and getting our nutrition through food. When we do that, our body does this process called selective absorption. Our bodies can detect and select exactly what it needs to function that day from the food that we eat, and it excretes what we don't need. So when we're eating all these plant foods, the body says, oh, I think I need some vitamin C today, and it will select that from our system and then excrete what it does not need. As opposed to when we take supplements, for example, then if we're taking supplements when there's no known deficiency for that nutrient, then our bodies are forced to deal with that isolated nutrient that we've ingested, and it tries to create complexes around it in order to recognize it, and that can lead to imbalances in other areas. And keep in mind too, especially if you're eating a lot of fortified foods, a lot of these minerals might be in your cereal, for example, already, something to keep in mind. Okay, how about a true false, Amy? Oops, Amy, I've lost your sound. I don't hear you.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Now I hear you, yes.
Okay. True or false, dairy foods like milk, cheese, and yogurt are the optimal source of calcium. True or false, Green Warriors? What do you think? All right, Cyd, tell us about that.
Well, that is absolutely false. And many of you know already probably that calcium is a mineral in the earth that's absorbed by plants, and both animals and humans get their calcium from plants. So plants are the optimal source of calcium, not dairy foods. Our bodies typically contain 2.2 pounds of calcium. That think of that, over 2 pounds of calcium, 99% of which is found in our skeletal system. So think about even the largest plant-eating animals like elephants and hippos and giraffes and horses and rhinoceroses. They all are plant eaters that are getting enough calcium from plants to sufficiently grow and maintain those huge skeletons. And can you guess what other large animal gets its calcium from plants?
Green Warriors?
Cows.
Ah,
Oh, I'm
there you
sorry.
go. Oh, I thought you were telling the Green Warriors to guess, but that's okay.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I kind
Wow.
of moved ahead there. But
Mhm,
it's cows, right?
mhm.
Cows do not produce calcium, nor do they have calcium inherently in their milk. Cows get calcium in their milk because they're eating plants. So in the course, we also go into detail about the acidity and alkalinity balance in our bodies, also known as our pH level, the pH levels in our blood. pH meaning the potential of hydrogen. So the pH scale pictured here has a range of 0 to 14, and our bodies strive to remain pH neutral, which is about 7.2 on the scale. So pH levels that are less than 7 are considered acidic, and then pH levels that are higher than 7 are considered basic or alkaline. Now, our bodies are going to strive to do whatever it takes to stay in the neutral range in order to protect us because we get in big trouble when the scale goes too far one way or the other. In fact, we could actually die if it goes too far one way or the other. So, our body is going to keep that pH neutral as best it can in the neutral range. So when we're consuming highly acidic foods like dairy and meat products, which contain dietary acids like phosphoric acid and sulfuric acid, the body's going to do whatever it has to do to buffer that acid. And what it often does is draw calcium stores directly from our bones to act as the buffer. This is why we typically do not have a calcium deficiency problem here in this country, but rather we have a calcium drainage problem due to the high intake of animal foods which contain these dietary acids. Also, processed foods, a can of pop, for example, if you look at the ingredients on a can of pop, you'll see phosphoric acid listed as one of the ingredients many times, which the body's going to have to buffer that. So we also explain in the course some of the common foods that we think are acidic, like lemons and limes, right? We think those foods are acidic, but they may not really be acidic at all. The acidity level comes into play after the food is digested. That's what determines a food's acidity level in the body is after the food is digested. Then in lesson 3, we'll talk about why dairy products, again, should not be where we look to get our calcium. And we just think about it. The purpose of cow's milk is to rapidly grow an 80-pound calf into a full-grown cow, 800-pound cow in less than a year. So in order to do that, milk contains growth hormones that are not designed for human consumption. Compare that, to a human baby, which is 6 to 8 pound baby growing to a 100 to 200 pound adult over 18 years. Big difference. So each species milk is specifically designed to nourish and grow that species baby. Horse milk is meant for foals, and dog's milk is meant for puppies, and zebra milk is meant for zebras, and cow's milk is meant for calves.
Yeah, Dr. Michael Greger says, as you said earlier, that the cows get their calcium and from what they're eating, the vegetables, and so his saying is, "Why not skip the middle moo and just eat the plants?"
The middle moo, I like that. So then the course also talks about other reasons, other detriments of dairy. So let's run through this list really quickly. So animal protein contributes to that acid load that we just talked about, which demineralizes our bones. And then there's the saturated fat in dairy, making it highly inflammatory, with cheese being the highest source of saturated fat in the American diet. And then there's cholesterol and the lack of fiber and the casomorphins, which act as a mild opiate to make cheese so addictive. And then there's casein, a protein which we know from Dr. Campbell's work is a known cancer promoter. There's growth hormones such as IGF-1, another known cancer promoter, especially in the breast and prostate. There's bovine growth hormones that the cows are injected with, pretty much banned in every country except here and one other country, I believe. But it's banned in most other countries, and yet we're still using it here. And then the antibiotics, which the cows are given to prevent mastitis, which is infection of their udders and other concerns that they develop. And then there's the high estrogen levels. And lastly, the fact that dairy is a very common allergen. Most people don't even realize that they might be suffering from some effects of dairy until they give it up, and then they realize how much better they feel. So, with all of these many detriments of dairy, all these concerns, here's again, we need to skip, we'll say the middle moo, right? We'll say skip that middle moo and get your calcium where the cow gets it directly from plants. Plus, the calcium in plants is far more absorbable in our bodies than the calcium in dairy. So, let's maybe have a true false now about calcium.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
Gonna take this and get back down to our next true or false. Okay, true or false, Screen Warrior. We need 1,200 to 1,500 milligrams of calcium each day to prevent bone fracture. What do you think, guys? All right, Cyd, tell us about it.
All right. The answer is false. And we'll talk about that right now. So, how much calcium do we actually need to prevent osteoporosis? Well, the World Health Organization says it's 500 milligrams of calcium to prevent fracture each day, and the UK sets the goal at 700. So many of the studies that lead to these conclusions factor in the absorbability of calcium. And just as I just mentioned, the calcium in plant foods is far more absorbable than the calcium found in dairy foods. One European study confirmed that vegans who consume at least 525 milligrams of calcium a day have no increased risk of fracture when compared to meat eaters, fish eaters, and vegetarians. Now, one caveat here from Dr. Thomas Campbell, you probably are familiar with his work. He has expressed concern over the calcium intake for vegans who are eating mostly processed food. Those people who are not even consuming yet a cup of beans a day or a cup of cooked greens, which he recommends they begin doing if they're only eating processed junk food, basically. So he also encourages them to consume fortified plant milks and cereals and tofu, all fortified with calcium. So in the course, we will show some great examples of calcium and show examples of a daily menu to show you how easy it is to get 525 milligrams of calcium per day, as long as we're eating enough calories, right? That should be important to note too. We've got to eat enough calories in order to get our calcium needs met. So to sum it up, calcium is an essential part of our diet, but the whole food plant-based diet that we recommend easily supplies the calcium we need, again, provided we're eating enough calories and we're not eating a vegan junk food diet that's comprised mostly of processed foods. Then in lesson 3, we also tackle the subject of supplements. So again, in our country, sometimes we assume that if a little bit is good, then a lot must be better, right? And that is totally wrong, and especially when it comes to calcium supplements as too, because consuming too much calcium can be just as detrimental as not getting enough. So there are risks with some calcium supplements that we spell out in the course, because having too much calcium in the blood leads to a condition, or it can lead to a condition called hypercalcemia, which can lead to various complications that affect our heart, our kidneys, and our other organs. So we take a look at the various studies regarding calcium supplements and their risks in order for viewers to make their own informed decision. So I want to emphasize that Eileen and I, we make it abundantly clear that we're not here to advise you what to do. We just want to present you the information and let you make your own informed decision based on the pros and cons of what we point out. So again, we don't have time to delve into this very deeply today because this is limited, and we're going to do a cooking demo as well. But all of this is spelled out in the course, and then we also talk about vitamin D. It's a hormone that our skin makes. Our skin soaks up the sun's rays, and then with the help of our liver and kidneys, converts it to the storage form of vitamin D. So I'll be sharing some studies in the course on whether or not the use of sunscreen has an impact on our body's ability to make vitamin D. And then we talk about the conflicting views amongst respected plant-based doctors regarding the need to supplement with vitamin D, because there are differing opinions in the plant-based world about that. And then we look at the research. What does the research have to say about whether or not vitamin D supplements have a positive effect on bone health? I mean, that's what the topic here is today, bone health, right? So let's focus on that. Does taking vitamin D actually have a positive effect on our bone health? And once again, all of that is presented in the class so the viewer can make their own informed decision about these matters. So maybe we should have a true false here about bone mineral density, right? We hear a lot about that.
Okay, let's see if we can find that one. True or false? Bone mineral density is the biggest predictor of future fracture risk. Let's take a guess.
Say that 3 times real fast, right?
Yes.
Future fracture risk.
Okay.
Oh.
Tell us, Cyd, what's the answer to that?
Well, surprisingly, the answer is false. So when we get to lesson 4, which is, in my view, the most valuable lesson in the entire course, we find out that many of us who think or thought that bone mineral density did predict our future fracture risk is not the case at all. And we talk about that. It turns out that it's the degeneration of bone tissue that matters most. So remember how we said that our bone is a living tissue and it forms this matrix for the minerals to deposit to. It's the condition of that bone tissue, the matrix, the tissue, that's the biggest predictor of fracture risk. So the condition of the bone tissue matters more than the bone mineral density. So that's something I learned very recently myself as studying for this course last year. Then we also talk about the 2 types of DEXA scans, DEXA devices. There are 2 types of DEXA devices out there. Eileen talks about this, about how they work and whether or not the machines are reliable. There's a lot of studies that show they're not that reliable. The same woman can go to different clinics and get 2 totally opposite results. So we talk about the definitions of your T-score and your Z-score. If you have a DEXA scan, you're going to get a report that has those numbers on it. And what do those results actually indicate? Well, the T-score is comparing your bone density to the amount of bone that you have to that of an average 30-year-old woman at the peak of her bone density. So that's the T-score. So if I went in for a bone scan, they would be comparing my 68-year-old bones to a 30-year-old woman at the peak of her bone density, right? That's the T-score. The Z-score is comparing the amount of bone you have compared to other people in the same age group, the same size and the same gender. Now, as we get older, some bone thinning is totally normal as we age past our childbearing years. It's normal to have some bone thinning. Dr. McDougall has a great 3-minute video on this very topic. So Eileen then goes into depth about today's commonly prescribed bone drugs, and she explains there are 3 different types of bone drugs on the market. I mean, they differ in how they affect the body, 3 different ways, including brand names that you would probably recognize, like Fosamax, Actonel, Boniva, Reclast, Forteo, Timlos, and Evenity. And I am seeing a lot of commercials right now for Evenity where they've turned these commercials into mini musicals. It kind of drives me nuts. They're all dancing and singing at the carnival. They're not showing the Evenity patient laying on the couch, not doing real well. So
Mhm.
anyway, I digress. So Eileen goes into detail about what each of these drugs is designed to do, their side effects, and how effective are they really in preventing fracture, right? These are things that I would want to know if I was being told to go on a bone drug. So then Eileen talks about the difference between relative risk and absolute risk. Many of the drug studies that are often reported make the drugs look far more effective than they really are because they're reporting the results in relative risk rather than absolute. So let's give an example here. Absolute risk is pretty much basic math. Let's say 100 people are taking a new bone drug and 2 of them get a fracture, and then 100 people are taking a placebo and 3 of those people get a fracture. So 3% of the placebo group minus 2% in the bone group is 1%, right? So let that means that in absolute terms, the risk reduction of a fracture would be only 1% for this drug. But if they report the results in relative terms, where the math is ratio based and it's based on comparisons between different groups, and they sometimes divide one number into the other, they do all this magic thing to the number to make the drug look much better than it is. Take Fosamax, for example. So Fosamax is advertised as a 44% reduction in fracture, but that's because they're using relative terms, right? Relative terms say it's 44% more reduction in fracture, but when we look at the actual results in absolute terms, the reduction is 1.7%. So less than 2% would benefit from that drug. So and this data is taken from the drug company's own websites, these statistics. So it's not like we had to, like Eileen had to look very far for this. And Eileen does this comparison for many of the bone drugs that are on today's market. So to me, this is like the best lesson in the entire course because this would save you hours of research if you dove into all this yourself. And again, it's important to point out that we're not trying to give anyone advice or instruct anyone what to do here, but we're just trying to point out some things so that people can make the most informed decision for themselves before they blindly go into some drug that has risks. All right. Then, as we go on about other negative things, maybe a true false here would be good, Amy.
Okay, we have 2 left, and one of them has to do with smoking. Would that be the one you wanted?
Yes, please.
Okay. True or false, Green Warrior? Smoking can have a negative effect on our bone health? And your guess. All right, Cyd.
The answer is true. And we point that out in lesson 5 of the course. We discuss other lifestyle factors that can negatively affect our bone health, like smoking, which you just mentioned, which generates large amounts of these unstable molecules called free radicals. These free radicals are very damaging and they can damage our cells, our organs, and they even damage the hormones that are involved in keeping our bones healthy. Another negative lifestyle factor would be consuming alcohol, which interferes with our pancreas and our liver. And when that happens, it affects our vitamin D production. There's certain medications, salt, being sedentary, and not moving, being a couch potato. All of these factors are very negative for bone health, and we talk about each one of those in the course as well. And then Eileen will share why exercise is so important and how exercise builds our bone mass. And she covers which exercise is the most effective for bone mass and which is the best exercise we can do to actually reverse osteoporosis. And then we also talk about the costs associated with inactivity, right? There's a lot of costs to being a couch potato or not moving your body enough. Then we finally get into some good news, as we mentioned a bit earlier, that it's important to know that some bone thinning is normal as we age, and many cultures live long, active lives with very low fracture rates, and so can we. So we have a lot more control over the health of our bones than we may have ever imagined. And it's easy to get all the calcium and minerals that we need by following a whole food plant-based diet, and it's never too late. That's important to know. It's never too late to increase your bone strength, especially when we stop consuming those calcium draining foods that are actually leaching calcium from our bones. So, in addition to the educational videos, there's two bonus items included in the course. One is a cooking demo from me. It's a whole video to make dairy-free items like fat-free cheese sauce, mozzarella cheese, faux parmesan, sour cream, the Mexican chocolate pudding that I'm going to make for you here shortly, and cherry ice cream. And then Eileen includes two exercise videos as well. One is exercises shown to slow down the loss of bone for osteoporosis, and the other is to reduce the risk of osteoporosis. So she has two different videos there on exercises that you could do no matter what where you are. So overall, the course has 3 hours of educational material. And again, that could save you hours of digging into the research if this is something that concerns you. And that does not include the bonus videos. Those are onto the 3 hours. And then we present the facts and you make the decision for you, the best decision for you. Because you are your number one healthcare practitioner, and it's important to be an informed one, right? That's our goal, is just to inform you. So if you have any interest in this course, I'm offering a 50% off discount for Be Green with Amy followers today. And the offer is good through the month of May only, so it ends on May 31st. And just go to my website, cydnotter.com, click on the courses tab, and there you'll see the course called Age Well with Strong Bones. And if you click on that, you can read more about the course. But if you do enroll, be sure to use the coupon code Be Green with no spaces, the words Be Green with no spaces, and then you'll get the 50% off. So that is it. Just a little encouragement. The life is too short to spend the last 15, 20 years with the majority of our time focused on going to the doctor for bone health and all these other preventable issues. So envision a different future for yourself where you're feeling good, you've got energy, you're functioning well. And I know from years of experience helping people that with the right strategies and the right food and the right mindset, you absolutely can have a much better future. All right. Shall I stop sharing now, Amy?
Okay, we can do that. Well, thank you so much for that. That was a wonderful mini course. And we have people that are watching, our Green Warriors that are watching, and some of them I know have learned because they guessed differently from what the answers were. So, but I didn't put those up. I only put up the right answers. and Johnny Foster said, "I guess I need the course." He determined that from the quiz. And then he also said yum when you showed the different foods that you show how to make. So
oh, hi, John. Yeah, John.
So those looked really good. Are you guys friends?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Very close friend. In fact, I just released a course called Food, Faith, and Fulfilling Your Purpose, which is a free course. That's on the courses tab too. And John is one of the presenters in that course.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah. It's really, really good.
So does John cook? Or
Um,
he talks
uh,
more about just the course?
I'll let John answer that if he cooks.
Do you like to cook, John? Not in the course, he's not cooking in the course,
No, no,
but
it's all
he
presentations
yeah.
by different people. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's great. Well, as you can see, Green Warrior, Cyd is setting up her kitchen because she is getting ready to do a nice recipe demo for us. And that's going to be of Mexican chocolate pudding, or it could be, like you said, you had told us, it could be an ice cream as well. So
Yes,
that's exciting.
it could be. If you have a Ninja Creamy, you can freeze this pudding and process it through your Ninja Creamy and make it an ice cream as well. Now, I've never tried that in a food processor, but my Ninja Creamy broke, so I don't no longer have the Ninja Creamy here right now. So I'm just going to make pudding today, and we'll probably enjoy it as is. But I might
Oh,
freeze
yeah.
a portion of it and just see if it would still make good ice cream in the food processor or the blender. I don't
Yeah.
see why it wouldn't.
Well, I often make mine ice cream in the high-powered blender, and then I put it in molds, these popsicle molds, and this way I always have a treat on hand. I also have the Ninja Creamy, but if I just want a quick treat, I can always grab that. Oh, and let's just say that John said to the answer to the question, "Yes, I do cook a lot."
Yeah, I thought he might probably does. Yes. Plus, he works at a restaurant, the Green Fair restaurant, or he volunteers there.
Oh.
Have you heard of that
Yes,
restaurant?
I had Gwen
Hmm.
Whittaker on the broadcast.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah.
yes, hope to be going to the restaurant someday soon because I my daughter is living in that town, so I'm
Oh,
hoping to
no
one day
kidding.
take her over there. All right,
Perfect.
well, we are going to get ready for this wonderful, demo, so I'm gonna put you up on the screen so everybody can see what you're
All
doing.
right. Okay, good. Well, we're going to start with 1.5 cups of roasted and mashed sweet potatoes. And these are just regular sweet potatoes. They're not Hannah yams or anything, just regular orange sweet potatoes. 1.5 cups of that cooked. 1/2 cup of unsweetened plant milk. And I'll tell you that lately I've been making my own soy milk because I've been buying the cartons of West Soy unsweetened soy milk, and they're like it's getting over $5 for a 64-ounce container, half a gallon. So I remembered that I had this soy maker in my basement that I bought at a garage sale for like $5 like 25 years ago, and I used it for a while and then I put it away and forgot about it. So I dug this back out of the basement, cleaned it all up, bought some organic soybeans from Amazon, um, and I figured out the cost. I will save $15 by making this instead of overall, because this 2/3 cup of this will make the equivalent of the plant milk in the store. So I figured it all out, but I'll save like $15 if I do
Well,
all that.
Ellen's Healthy Kitchen said, "Me too, I use my Soyabella to make soy milk." Oh, wow.
Yeah, this was actually an Asian gal that went to our church. So I think this actually came. I don't know where she got it, but the instructions are in Chinese, but it still works fine. It's really good. So anyway, I digress. A 1/2 cup of unsweetened plant milk, and this is soy milk. And then we have a 1/3 cup of cacao powder or cocoa powder. I'm going to use cacao today. And here's something that I was thinking about over the weekend, and I don't understand really the reason for this. If you buy organic cacao powder, the saturated fat is 0 grams. But if you go to buy organic cacao chips that are just made with 100% cacao, there's 5 grams of saturated fat. So somewhere in the processing, and there's no other ingredient, there's no milk or anything added. So I have to look into that. Why is there saturated fat in the cacao nibs, but not in the powder? Okay, a 1/3 cup of cacao or cocoa powder, half a teaspoon. Is it a teaspoon? Oh no, half tablespoon of cinnamon. That's quite a bit of cinnamon. Remember, this is a Mexican pudding, which is why we're going to have cinnamon and then a little heat. So half tablespoon of cinnamon, a teaspoon of vanilla extract. I'm going to use some vanilla powder today. Gives it a little better flavor in my opinion too. Oops, that was a half teaspoon, and we need a whole teaspoon of vanilla. Yeah. And then 3 tablespoons of date paste. And I've got that measured out already, so I could just add it to the blender, 3 tablespoons. This is just Date Lady date paste that I buy at Walmart. Not all Walmarts have it, but if
Yeah,
you
that
can
wasn't
find
a
it there,
great discovery that you wouldn't expect to see that in Walmart, and
I know.
that's my source too.
Oh, yeah. That's basically it, except for a pinch of red cayenne pepper. Now, you can omit this, or you can be brave and just put a little dash in there. I just put a little dash in there because I don't like it super hot. You can always add more pepper to it after you taste the batter, the mixture. All right, that is it. So make sure I got everything in here. I'm going to turn on the blender, and I'm pretty sure you won't hear it, right, Amy?
I'm gonna mute you.
Okay.
And while that's going on, and so we don't have to hear the blender go on, I'm going to tell you guys that the recipe, of course, is going to be in the show notes. Tell me in the comments, Green Warrior, do you like chocolate dessert? I am what they call a chocoholic, and I'm glad that we're finding delicious recipes like the one that Cyd is making today so that I can stay on my plant-based lifestyle and stay healthy. And meanwhile, I can get chocolate anytime I like with all different kinds of recipes, just like the one that Cyd is doing today. Okay, I was speaking while you were blending, Cyd,
Yeah, I'm
so
going to
now we've
scrape the
got you back
side.
on.
Thank you. I'm going to scrape the sides down one time.
Yeah, I love these high-powered blenders. They're so handy and so powerful. And you're gonna go ahead and, blend it one more time?
Just real quick. Yep.
Okay, no worries. So while Cyd is blending now, she's gonna do that, and I wanted to see if anybody said in the comments if they did like chocolate. I'll see if we have anybody that said that. John said, "Love chocolate, black bean brownies." Oh, yes. I love black bean brownies because even while you're making them, you can eat them. You don't even have to bake them. So we were talking about that in the comments about I asked the Green Warriors if they like chocolate, and John Foster said that he loves chocolate, he likes black bean brownies, and I was saying that I love you can make black bean brownies and you don't even have to bake them. It's like a cookie dough kind of thing where you could just eat them. Okay, so back to the recipe.
Yeah, well, it's interesting you said that because I'm doing a diabetes class here at my house in a couple weeks, and I'm going to make the PCRM black bean brownie bites, and they're raw. Or wait, or is it just brownie bites? Maybe it doesn't have beans. Never mind.
You you
All
you
right.
might be working on another recipe there.
I could be, yeah. So I wanted to make this in a pretty dish for you, and I don't have any pretty dishes. So I went to my basement and found this, I don't know, is this a cocktail glass?
Oh, I think that
Yeah.
that's a martini glass,
Okay,
although
I
I've never
found this.
had a martini, but I've seen enough movies.
So I'm like, where did we get this? Look at the bottom of it, it has like a green head. It's just bizarre. But
That
anyway,
that looks like a lot of fun to eat chocolate pudding out of.
we have all this glassware in our basement, in a cabinet, and it's 30 years old. I don't know where some of it came from even, but that's what I'm going to serve this in, just so you see how pretty it can look. I wanted it to be a clear container. So again, you could freeze this for 24 hours and then process it into ice cream. I've actually got some organic strawberries here. I'm going to put those on top too. And wouldn't your company just think this is really, really impressive? So there it is, Mexican chocolate pudding with some organic strawberries on top.
Oh, can you tilt it toward the camera a little bit? Oh, look at how beautiful. Oh, wow. Thank you for sharing that. And I
You
love
are
how
welcome.
if we wanted to eat that, we wouldn't have to say, "Okay, that's only 2 tablespoons can I have of this because that's how many I can have," we can just say, "I think I'll have a big scoop," right? Just scoop it in and not even worry about it, right? Because
Yeah,
that's the
right.
food that we're eating. And
I would say, go ahead.
John John Foster said, "Looks great. Samples?"
Yeah, come on over.
Yeah, that's the only thing about these broadcasts, but it made it look so easy to make that we could just and the ingredients are easy to come by, so we could make our own and have lots of samples to share with people.
Mhm.
Oh,
Absolutely. I would say this serves 4 easily.
mhm,
Mhm.
but it could
So
be
that was
2.
it might be 1 later after we get off the show.
Yeah, this is hard
Oh.
work cooking. I mean, everybody I would love it if you guys could click like right now, because if you could think of what Cyd did to prepare for today, not to mention what she did on social media promoting it, but just she got all the ingredients ready for us, and she got her presentation ready, and she got her kitchen all ready. So please click like to applaud for Cyd because she's every time she comes on, she does such a great job, and we so much appreciate it.
Well,
So
I
much.
appreciate it. I appreciate coming on, Amy, and to be able to just to tell people about the website, and by the way, I've got free 10 free dessert smoothies on the website too. If you want like there's an Elvis impersonator which has got some peanut butter in it, chocolate avocado shake, a banana split smoothie, an orange dreamsicle delight. All of that's free if you just go to my website and sign up for the weekly mailer, which comes out on Wednesdays. You get that. Plus, I've got a free 21-day meal plan. Oh, and a free webinar called Three Food Mistakes That Lead to Painful Joints, Extra Pounds, and Health Problems the Doctors Aren't Solving. Three food mistakes. Anybody want to guess what those are, or should I have you watch the webinar to find out?
Well, Green Warrior, if you wanna guess the food mistakes, you can, or you can go to the webinar and take a look. And Nikki Demers said, "Looks great."
Oh, hi, Nikki.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ellen's Healthy Kitchen said, "I love chocolate pudding made with sweet potatoes. It's easy and such a crowd pleaser." Yes. We've
Yes.
lately been
Hi.
making our ice cream with sweet potatoes. And our puppy Zeus loves sweet potatoes, so whenever we get them out, we have to make sure we give him a little bit because he thinks that we're making them for him.
Okay, yeah.
But
How
yes, you
funny.
haven't have you tried with just sweet potatoes in an ice cream for your recipe,
Mm,
Sid?
oh, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
In fact,
it's
my f
fabulous.
it is. My favorite chocolate frosting is sweet potato based, and it is
Mhm.
so good.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that you make it and you share it with your friends, and then after they smile and say, "This is good," then you tell them
Yep. Yeah,
what
don't
is
tell
in
them up
it.
front.
Don't tell them up front because it'll change their perception, and every time it's a crowd pleaser when we use the sweet potatoes, so thank you for sharing with us,
Yeah.
Ellen.
It was so good to see Ellen here too, Ellen's Healthy Kitchen. She did a demo last night on my PBNSG group, and she made saucy solutions. So she made some
Oh.
dressings and a tofu barbecue thing. It was really, really good.
I love that, Ellen. You'll have to come on Be Green with Amy and let me know if you can
Yes.
do something because I always say, and you probably say it too, Sid, it's in the sauce, right? If
Mhm.
you can find a sauce that you like, then you just put it on the food. And I love that you can make all the vegetables and not worry about ruining them with
Mhm.
something you might not like. And then you make a sauce and then you can taste the sauce. If you like it, put it on. If not, try something else and you still have all those veggies and good food. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so Ellen, be in touch with Amy and see if maybe you could work your magic there as well.
Oh, she said, "Thank you, Sid, and yes, I'd love to come on your show, Amy." Yes, because my green warriors love food.
Yeah,
And
right.
we love to watch food being made. Okay. So let's see if we have any questions or comments that we want to share here. Oh, well,
Yeah.
let's start with Ellen. She said, my internist just strongly urged me to go on Fosamax.
Mhm.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
wonder what Ellen said to her internist.
Mhm. But now she's got
Okay.
some facts, to make her just more
Mhm.
information to help with that. Plus, she mentioned to me that she works out, that's a good thing. She works
It
out,
really is.
does strength training already, and she's eating a good diet. So,
Yeah, that's
all the
so
things that
important.
matter. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a mutual friend, well, her business name is Boomer and Beyond Wellness, and her name is
Mhm.
Angela Fischetti, and she had, well, what her doctor had told her that she had bones of a 90-year-old.
Yes.
And she was able to reverse quite a bit of her osteoporosis and not be on medications. She did a lot of exercising, and she did a lot of tweaking of her diet, and she did a talk about that on Be Green with Amy. You can look for it, or I'll put a link for that. But that's very inspirational to see, and she's got muscles, and she looks
Yeah.
really great.
And what I like about her talk is that she says now she's diagnosed with age appropriate osteopenia. Because remember, our bones are going to normally thin as we age, right?
Yes.
We don't need all those hormones when we're in childbearing age. And so I love that because that's true. I was diagnosed with osteopenia many years ago before I even had a clue about diet or anything, or that the DEXA scans weren't all that reliable. And,
Mhm.
right after that, I gave up dairy, and my next scan improved. When I gave up the calcium draining food, my next DEXA scan improved. Now, I'm not recommending DEXA scans because I'm saying that. I'm just, this is before I had a clue about anything that we know now, but that I think that was telling that when I gave up the dairy, the DEXA scan showed an improvement, even though I don't think they're very reliable machines after reading the
Mm.
data on them. But
Wow. Yeah, I
yeah,
I don't, it's, I mean, that's what we do. We think that we're supposed to go to doctors and get tests, and
yeah.
if we can just, I mean, and sometimes that's what you need to do, but for many times, if you can just live as though you didn't get good results on those tests, and
Mhm,
adjust your diet and lifestyle accordingly, then
mhm.
that could be very helpful to us. Okay.
Right, yeah, and I wanted to say one other thing, and it just slipped right out of my head there for a second. Never mind.
It'll come back. It's still floating in the air, it just has to land, and
Yeah,
when it does, you'll let us know.
yeah.
Okay, so, AGW said, "How can I best advocate for my bone health when discussing treatment options with my healthcare provider?"
Hmm. Well, it depends on what they're telling you, I guess. Oh, treatment options. Okay, so maybe bring in the data with the bone drug, the true effectiveness of the bone drug, and ask if they know anything that's different than that, or to ask them to show you some studies that aren't funded by the drug company. Try to look at independent research that's not sponsored by Fosamax or Avenity. Um, it's hard because the traditional medical system, they're they're trained to diagnose and prescribe drugs or surgery, and it's up to you. As I mentioned earlier, you are the one that's going to have to live with the decision. So it's up to you whether or not you'll take that drug, even if they're telling you to. It's your call, but how to discuss it with the doctor, I guess, are just a frank discussion of why you feel like you're concerned about the risks. You see all these risks associated with the drug, and the fact that they're not that effective. Oh, I just came back to me what I was going to say.
Okay.
So in the course, we talk about we're afraid that we're going to fall. Eileen points out that the main reason people do break a bone is because they fall. That's why stability and balance is so important to work. She's balance. She says, Eileen, forgive me if I've got this wrong, but I think balance is when you can stand on one leg, right? But stability is when you can recover, like you're starting to go down and you recover from that. That's stability. and she talks about that. So it's not just the strength of our bones, but it's the balance and stability factor as well.
Yeah, actually, in the beginning, when we were doing the true or false questions, Carrie, we had talking about the risks of osteoporosis and and breaking bones, and Carrie said falling is, and so she
Yeah.
was spot on. And it's
Mhm.
true that oftentimes we walk forward, and that's
Mhm.
basically all we do. We rarely walk sideways, and we rarely walk backwards.
Mhm.
So there are a lot of wonderful exercises that Eileen shares, and you could also see them on Angela does a lot of
Mhm.
exercise work on my YouTube channel and on hers, where you're going from side to side and moving backwards. And this is important to help you with your balance. Of course, you're
Mhm.
going to consult with your physician before you do any exercises, but these are the kinds of things that we really need to learn how to do. And sometimes yoga is helpful, and you can start it off as a beginner, but, even if you can just hold on to a counter and stand on one foot and then try to let go of the counter and see how you're doing there and then hold on again if you can't stay stable. But these are the things that we should be working on. So exercise is great, but also as you were talking about, the balance is so important. Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, I imagine Angela Fischetti does have on her Boomerang Beyond Wellness. I'm
Mhm.
sure she has exercises for that as well.
Yeah.
Stability and
Yeah.
balance.
Yeah, because she was very helpful with that. Okay, so we had that one from Asia.
Yeah,
Let's just
let's
see if there's anything else.
did that answer your question? Did that help in some regard? I
Yeah,
don't know if I answered that totally, or the ultimate
yeah.
decision is yours as far as whether or not you will take the treatment. They can prescribe treatment, but it's up to you whether or not you'll take that based
Mhm.
on what you decide.
Yeah. So Teresa said, "Whole food plant-based for 1 year now, just diagnosed with osteoporosis in my lumbar region. My doctor wants me to take meds. Will 100% whole food plant-based help without meds?"
I can't answer that. It's kind of a medical question. I do know that the whole food plant-based diet will give your body the best chance to heal. That's for sure, especially if you're adding exercise in there. I I know many people that have reversed osteoporosis, so it can happen, but I can't say yes or no to you, Teresa. I don't know anything about you, and I can't give medical advice, but I do know it could not hurt. That's for sure. If anything, it would get you on the right path to the cure. I mean, I would suggest talking to Angela Fischetti, Boomer and Beyond Wellness about it. 'Cause she, Amy pointed out, she was diagnosed with the bones of a 90-year-old, and through strength training and change in her diet, she totally reversed it
Yeah.
without meds.
Yeah.
Those meds are too, you're not supposed to stay on those meds for any long length of time. And once you stop the meds, they stay in your system for a long time as well. Some dentists will ask you if you're taking bone medications because it can weaken your jaw. Some dentists are concerned that if they're working on your teeth, your jaw is going to fracture. It's called osteonecrosis of the jaw. That's one of the risk factors. So, just things to think about. I know it's hard when the doctor's telling you to do something, right? That's when they're telling you to do something and you're just so unsure about it. It puts a lot of pressure on you to make the decision for you and what's the best thing for your health. Weigh the pros and cons, the risks and the benefits of the drugs. Like for a 1.7% lower risk, am I willing to risk my femur fracture? I mean, some of the bone drugs actually contribute to bone fracture. We talk all about that in the course as well, which is just ludicrous when you think about it, right?
Oh, yes.
Eileen points that out, like the femur, your femur bone right here in your leg can just fracture if if you're on those bone drugs for very long, or some of the side effects are because what they're doing. How we talked about builds bone cells break down and build up. They stop the breakdown of bone, but then the building cells can't come in to rebuild because they've stopped one part of the process, and that makes your bones weak. So it just makes no sense that they would prescribe bone drugs that actually contribute to fractures in some people.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, we also have things coming up here that we wanna talk about because we are going to be doing a book giveaway drawing right now, and Sid in the past has generously donated her book, The Plan A Diet, for book giveaways, but she's never gotten to see us do a drawing for her book, but today we're gonna be drawing for a different book. But you should check this one out too because it's a wonderful book, and I'll put links for all that in the show notes. So right now we are going to do a book drawing for this book, which is Dr. Peter Rogers' book, The Medical Reformation Vegan Renaissance Bible. So he just took his idea of what medical books should have, and he made his own book because he found that the things like what we're talking about today, what Sid's talking about today, you don't see them in medical books. So that's something that's very interesting to see. Okay, so we are going to put that on our spinning wheel and see what's going to happen and who's going to win this wonderful book. All right, we're going to spin our wheel. All right. Well, congratulations, Paula. You are the winner of that book, and I'll be reaching out to you to get your particulars to share with Dr. Rogers so he can share that book with you. And that's so exciting. And Nikki said, love Sid's book. So I do too, and I love having it around. It's a very, very nice. You want to tell us a little bit about your book, Sid?
Sure, it's called the Plan A Diet, combining whole food plant-based nutrition with the timeless wisdom of scripture. And it's got a dietary research. It's just a combination of dietary advice combined with scripture for those who are in the faith to help support them in their lifestyle change as well.
Yes,
And
it's a
I talk
wonderful.
about like all the principles in scripture, like we're going to reap what we sow, right? Whatever decisions we make, have consequences basically, and how that applies to diet. And so I talk about different principles from scripture that definitely apply to all areas of life, but especially food as well. And that's what the book is about. And you know what? When you played that music just now, I had a
Uh-huh.
flashback to that butter
Did you?
commercial. Remember Imperial Butter,
Oh,
where
with
the crown would appear on their head?
I remember that.
Reminded me of that for some reason. And Amy,
Oh.
I sent you the recipe for this pudding, right? Is that in the
Yes,
show
it's
notes?
going to
Okay.
be in the show notes,
All right.
so and I put that up while you were doing the recipe demo, I put that
Okay.
up so that people could see because I for me, I love to have a recipe available that I can just enjoy the presentation and not try to
Right.
take down notes, and you were so kind to share that with us so that I could share it with the Green Warriors, and they wouldn't have to worry about doing that, but I did remind them, and it is going to be in the show notes. Well, Green Warrior, please click like to show your appreciation for what Sid shared with us today. And Sid, you talked about it a little bit, but let's talk about it some more. What do you do and how we can find you on social media?
Yeah, I've been teaching whole food plant-based for over 25 years now, Amy. I'm a past newspaper columnist. I'm a certified for Dr. Campbell's group, graduate of the Center for Nutrition Studies, a licensed food for life instructor for Dr. Barnard, certified under Dr. McDougall, lead an inflammation support group for PBNSG. So I've got a lot of irons in the fire out there, but I love to teach people that they can take better control of their health, much more control of their health. Genetics are not the key, diet and lifestyle factor. I just saw a thing on Facebook today. It said, genes run in your family until now, right? Genes, they stop with you, right? You have the power to change your genes in real time with a healthy lifestyle. That's a proven fact from Dr. Ornish. So they can find me at my website, cydnotter.com. There I've got a courses tab with a burger class, the faith, food, and fulfilling your purpose class, the bone class, and inflammation and your diet class. Plus, I do offer classes online now for PCRM. So if you get on my mailing list, you'll get my weekly mailer that'll give you the class list for that. I'd appreciate it.
Well, I hope everybody shows their love for you because we all love having you here at Sid, and it's so nice that you share You have so many resources that you share with us, and you're sharing your time with us today and also on your website, and you're getting out there, you're, getting interviewed and interviewing other people, so there's a lot of things that you're bringing for us to learn about, and you tickled our curiosity about, osteoporosis today, absolutely.
Good, good, good. Yeah, stay tuned. I'm going to be on Dr. Sabatino's podcast next week.
Yes.
Frank Sabatino. Yeah.
I'm so excited for you. I love him. He's a wonderful interviewer, and he asks a lot of questions that other people don't. So it's always you get valuable information every time, at least I feel anyway.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, but he's
Should I
kind.
be worried? Oh,
No,
okay.
no, no. He's a great guy. Well, again, a heartfelt thank you to you, Cyd, for sharing your invaluable expertise and your insights on osteoporosis with us today. And even though you give a course on it, just what you shared with us today felt like a mini course. So that was really so
Mhm,
nice for you to share that and your dedication to empowering others on their journey to optimal health. It's just so inspiring. And
mhm.
Green Warriors, I they I mean, your knowledge, we just so appreciate it because you have this commitment to promoting health and wellness through clean plant-based eating. So, Cyd, what's your final take-home message for our Green Warriors?
Just as I've said throughout the course today, is that you do have more control over your health than you've ever been led to believe. And so take that to heart and you become your number one healthcare practitioner by doing the research and making the best decisions for your health with your lifestyle and with your movement and with stress and with sleep and with all the factors that go into good health.
Well said, well said. Well, Green Warrior, tell us what you're going to remember from today's presentation. We learned about osteoblasts and osteoclasts and all kinds of things. And if you type something that you're going to remember in the comments, that will help people who are stumbling upon this broadcast to see what we were talking about. And I do wanted to thank Just Has Voice. She did the promos and the countdowns, and she's just been so helpful to get the word out. And Just Has Voice, tell us who's coming up next.
Want to learn a plant-based chef's favorite kitchen gadgets? Plus, hacks and tips for cooking and meal prepping? Join us as the amazing Vicki Brett Gach showcases her top gadget picks and shares expert tips, including a recipe demo for espresso oatmeal cookies. Wednesday, May 15th, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, on Be Green with Amy Live.
Well, thank you, Green Warrior, for joining us today. What happened? Did I miss
I was
something?
pretending like I was sneaking a big bite of this
Oh, well,
pudding.
take some because we wanna watch you eat it and say how good it is.
No, I won't torture you.
We're just gonna have to make our own.
Yeah.
Well, Green Warrior, your engagement and support make these discussions meaningful and impactful, and I hope you're feeling inspired to take a closer look at your food choices and maybe make some delicious chocolate pudding and make some positive changes for your health and well-being. And remember, every bite we take is an opportunity to nourish our bodies and become the healthiest versions of ourselves. So please stay tuned for more empowering content. Please subscribe to my channel and share my message with others who can benefit because together as Green Warriors, we can make a meaningful difference in the world. And I really wanted to share with you a special thank you. So, as a special thank you to you, I am offering you 5 free recipes. So, just go to my website, begreenwithamy.com/join, and I'll send you those recipes. And I want to spread some love today. So, Green Warrior and Cyd, go ahead and take your right hand and grab your left shoulder, and your left hand and grab your right. And that's a squeeze. A hug from me to you and from me to you, Cyd, because you rock. And Green Warrior, if you would like to join me and Cyd with my tagline, you can type it in. I'll put it up on the screen for you, and Cyd's going to say it with me. Well, she's gonna say the last line anyway. Are you ready, Cyd?
Ready.
Okay. Well, until I see all of you again, remember, be strong, be well, and be
Be green.
green. Thank you, Cyd. Thank you, Green Warriors. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Looking for really tasty recipes that are SOS free? No sugar, oil, or salt. How can it taste good? Well, if you like flavor, then you'll love this Be Green with Amy recipe ebook. Get your copy today. Click on the link in the show notes. Be strong, be well, and be green.